Yeah, and this is my show project presentation on Big Brother. Big Brother is a reality game show competition that airs 3 nights a week on CBS during the summers. Currently, it's in its 21st season as it started in 2000. These are some of the people that make up the show. Here we have 2 producers and also the host, Julie Chen, who we see on Thursday nights for the live eviction. All 3 of these people have uniquely been involved with the show since its beginnings in the United States in 2000. Here are the Big Brother Season 21 house guests. These are 16 larger-than-life personalities with various views on topics, ready for a season full of twists and turns, all of them making for excellent TV. Some facts about Big Brother for you. There's over 100 cameras hidden and also placed out in the open that are tracking the house guests' every move. There are boom microphones installed overhead, along with microphones that each house guest has to wear. As far as lighting goes, there's a white lighting throughout the entire house, but there really isn't much of that fill or that stage lighting even or a backlighting. We don't see that often in the house. The only time that we would see that is mainly for competitions. So the schedule and the plot can be kind of confusing, but on Sunday nights, the head of household competition and the nomination ceremony take place where a new house guest will be the next person to take control of the game. There they get to nominate 2 house guests for eviction. On Wednesday night is the Golden Power Veto competition, where 1 house guest will win the veto. Whoever wins a veto will have the choice of taking themselves off the block, a friend or an enemy off the block, or choosing to not use the veto at all. If the veto is used, the head of household has the power right then and there to determine who will be the next person on the block. On Thursday, we have a live eviction and the start of the head of household competition. Every single night, though, this show also airs Big Brother After Dark, which is where viewers can get a free after-hours look into the house on a different channel. Plus, viewers can also subscribe to CBS All Access, watch the house guests every single move whenever they want, which makes it really interesting and, in my mind, goes against all the formalities that we see with a typical other show, a typical sitcom that you might wait around all week to watch. With this being on so often and various apps and websites and things to follow along and the fan base being so large, it's very easy to figure out what the house guests are up to, what the information is, and what's going on in there. So as far as the critical analysis goes, the one biggest thing that I want to point out first is that obviously with over 100 cameras, there is no privacy for these house guests, making it super interesting, and also meaning that the narrative structure, depending on who's in power and who is in control of the game, it's consistently changing. So I think that too makes a show unique and different and fun to watch. Pictured on the lower left and the lower far right is going to be examples of the competitions. Notice the set and the bright colors and how on the left it's more of a trivia setup and on the right it's definitely an endurance competition. We have a lot of scenery and things to look at. House guests are most of the time wearing costumes or goggles, depending on what the competition is, making it super entertaining for viewers. In the middle, we have pictures of the house. Notice the bright colors and the patterns and the prints and everything that's going on. The theme is camping. So you notice in the top one, it's more glamping for that head of household. They get to stay in that awesome suite and study the game and figure out all of their plans and what their next move is. And then in the next picture below it, we have the living room, and that's going to be where the live eviction takes place and where we see a house guest head out the front door every single week. On the right, on the upper corner, we have the memory wall, and on the memory wall are 16 different pictures of the house guests, and every single Thursday when someone is evicted, their face is blacked out. This is a huge part of the show. There's a sound effect that goes along with the blacking out of a face on there, and it's a big piece of it on Thursday night as we watch the house guests run over after they have left the house, and we watch the rest of the ones still inside see their opponent or their friend's face turn black and white. So for the cultural analysis, the first thing is definitely how people get onto reality TV shows. Obviously, it's becoming more difficult to cast these kinds of shows. So we see here in this one, the blue is going to indicate on this map of an alliance chart, is going to indicate a stronger bond. Yellow is going to indicate a normal bond. This is on day 24, so the house guests haven't been in there for too long yet. But as you can see, they want diversity on all fronts. They want people from different walks of life, different genders, sexuality, races, careers, where they went to school, different towns, etc. All of that matters so much in the production and in the casting of a show like this, because it would be so boring if they were 16 of the exact same person. So notice here all the alliances. Notice those as we go into the next slide. The next slide is going to be on day 46. So here, notice all of the alliances that are maybe dissolved now. So before we had the one big large alliance of 8 that was its own little subgroup, and then we had a subgroup of kind of the outcast house guests, and now we have one alliance and it's of the outcast. So seeing that and seeing how the narrative structure has really shifted, because now this one alliance, the 4 people on the lower left, Cliff's Angels, they're the ones running the house. So there's still the diversity here, and there's a lot of power obviously that goes into this game, and who has power and who has control. And so these 4 people, as part of Cliff's Angels, were able to gain back the power after being consistently pushed under and told that they were part of that out group and not worthy of hanging out with these other people, have now been able to try to get some of them out of the house. This is also the first season that they have put people in the house that know each other. So Holly and Catherine in the lower left, they know each other before they came into the house. And in the upper kind of middle right area, Tommy and Christy know each other as well. So that's an interesting twist that the house guests haven't quite figured out yet. So for the theoretical analysis, there are so many examples to today and real life. The biggest things I think are polarization. Even within the house, it can be interesting at times when people's views on certain things, specifically politics, are exposed, how polarizing it is. You see some people not wanting to talk to somebody else because they believe one thing, but then at the end of the day, how they can overcome that and become united and work together and maybe have an alliance that's a secret one because nobody would suspect it. There's also consequences for your actions. And here we see Julie Chen interviewing a house guest named Jack Matthews. He was evicted, and during his time in the house, he made some very controversial remarks about some other house guests, calling people very nasty names. And here he is being called out and essentially roasted for his comments. And so there are consequences to your actions. And not only are your family and your friends watching, your employer is watching the show. And for many people that come from small towns, their entire town is watching. So the narrative within the house of how people view you might not necessarily change because they aren't exposed to the outside world. The people in the outside world definitely change that perspective, and America has such a big influence on the narrative structure of this show, depending on who we want to see go. There's many times when I think production can help make that happen. Here's a 6 Shooters Alliance. They were the big six people that were running the show, and now they are no more. And so kind of the consequences of their actions of blowing up each other's games is part of it too. And so that leads us to the practical analysis. I chose this picture of the balancing box because I feel like that perfectly emphasizes this show and the balancing act that these house guests consistently find themselves in. The balance of maintaining friendships and relationships with other house guests, also staying true to themselves, figuring out what their morals are, their beliefs. If they didn't know who they were coming into this show, they definitely know after leaving this house. The lessons of the important relationships and what's really worth the $500,000 and who to take to the end and all of that. And they learned so many important and valuable lessons from in here. And America gets to see that too. And we get to see, again, how, actions can have consequences and how maybe it's better to stay true to your word. Is that worth losing the $500,000 and all of that? We get to see it all play out, and we get to reflect too, which makes it especially unique. So, in conclusion, this show I think is amazing. All of these house guests, being tucked away from the outside world, it's so cool to then to get to see them. Regardless of how America views these house guests, at the end of the day, they are a family in there. They are ripped away from their families. When they go into the house, they have no technology. There are no pens, no paper, simple things like that they do not have. So they have no clue what's going on in the news or anything. So for them, all they have is each other. And so at some point, they realize that having each other and those friendships are worth so much more than anything else. At least most realize that, but usually most people from most seasons come out of the house and they are so strong and like a family. Thank you so much for watching my presentation. Here's my works cited page.